feedback. Your input was imperative as we move this program forward. The commitment that you have toward Washington State is impressive and imperative at the same time. So as you guys all know, together there is nothing we cannot accomplish as a team. So we appreciate you guys. And to all of our former players, your insight, your passion, your love for Washington State was heard and felt. We take with the utmost seriousness the responsibility we have to uphold the standards that have been set by this program since its inception. To have an alumni base that is caring and so vocal is actually, we were talking about earlier, that's a blessing for every baseball program. To our athletics team, we appreciate everyone working fast to get to this point. Chris Park chaired our search. Chris did a wonderful job in terms of getting us to the answer, meeting with the team, coming in Sunday night, almost missing his wife's birthday party, so
that, as well as twice at UCLA as the hitting coach and then recruiting coordinator there. It's a place that can generate a ton of excitement. It's a place you can win. It's a place that has a chance to be offensive. And obviously it's a place that has a ton of history, pride, and respect amongst the country. Before I get going, obviously there's a lot of people that I have to thank today, and it's important to do that at the front because I'll forget, because I'll get going and I'll start to get charged up. But to President Schultz, who texted me from Spain, and to Pat Chun, this is, I heard something, I was told a long time ago by a coach that I really respect, Dennis Rogers, and he said, when someone gives you life, they gave you life, and you give it back to them, and you give it back to them with character, integrity, and work ethic, and a drive, and an answer to find a way. And Pat, this opportunity, I will not let you down, and most importantly, I will do what I said I was going to do in that interview process, because that's what's most important, and that's what you're believing in, and I will give you that. So thank you so much. Thank you. To Chris, boy, Chris Park is an absolute animal. I got a phone call. This happened quick. I met a person on the phone that I had never met, and talk about passion, drive, leadership, and then it was Ann. And then it was Brian, and then it was Mitch, and the next thing you know, I've met a leadership team at a school where I went, holy smokes, I want to be a part of this. And asked me in the interview, Brian, what do you need to see? And I said, I need to meet the leadership team. And I needed to meet that, feel it, and boy, have I ever. Thank you guys for professionalism, for leadership, for communication. I'm just honored to be a part of the team, and thank you for believing in me. Thank you, Chris, for everything in this short amount of time. Looking forward to meeting you, and sorry about the birthday. To the previous administration at New Mexico State, Mario Mocha, Ron Cartwright, and to Chancellor Arvizu. I came from a school that pretty limited in resources, but not limited in heart, drive, and passion. A big chip on our shoulder down in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and we found a way to be very successful with not much. To Dr. McKinley Boston, James Hall, and Steve Macy for believing in me to give me my first Division I head coaching opportunity at New Mexico State. Forever, they gave me life. And then for the coaches, I've been so blessed, so lucky, so fortunate to be around the people that I've been around. Elliot Avent, who's now at NC State. I played for Elliot. He gave me my first coaching opportunity. Dennis Rogers at Riverside Community College. Pat Casey gave me my first Division I job as a volunteer at Oregon State. Mike Trapasso at Hawaii Ridge Hill at the University of San Diego. John Savage at UCLA, and Gary Henderson at the University of Kentucky. I've been around some unbelievable people who have impacted my life tremendously, and I'm so appreciative, guys, for all the opportunity that you gave to me. For a few more, the Diamond Club at New Mexico State University. This is a group of people who are solely committed to Aggie baseball, and I'm really excited at building a club in Pullman that's the in club, that has the access to baseball, where we could really create something and get people excited, create that extra access to our players and our coaches. I think that's how you build a movement. I think that's how you create momentum, and I'm looking forward to doing that. But I'm so appreciative of that group in Las Cruces, and then the players and coaches I apologize. That special group in Las Cruces, especially that first recruiting class, guys. I'll maybe put some graphics up later, but when we started in New Mexico State, my first year we won 11 games, and in that first recruiting class, we sold a vision, and that's all we had to sell. There was nothing in place. There were no plans. There was just a vision of what we were going to do. And that first recruiting class bought into a vision, and that's your responsibility as a head coach and as a program. If you say you're going to do something, then you do it, and that's how you build trust. And I'm going to talk a lot about that. But that first group that came in bought in, and after an 11-win season in year 1, 34 in year 2, 35 in year 3, 40 in year 4 with a regional appearance, and 38 in year 5 with a regular season championship. The players and coaches in Las Cruces over the course of the 5 years, and particularly the last 2 years, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, and I'm very cognizant and aware of that. And thank you to New Mexico State baseball and coaches. It's a special day. My parents are here. Tim and Luann Green, guys, you can stand up. Thanks, Mom and Dad. And then my rock, my 2 kids, Emily and Zoe, and my wife, my best friend, married for 22 years. Met her in a bar. She made me chase her around forever. Becky, Emily, and Zoe, would you guys stand up? We walked into the stadium yesterday, and you knew you were at a special place. You knew you were in the Pac-12. You knew you were at a place with history, leadership, drive, passion. We walked through the gates, and a walkout song comes on, and my family walks out onto the field, and I look at Becky, and she's crying. And I've got my glasses on, because I'm smart, I think. And I start crying, and I knew I was at the right place, just in terms of leadership and belief. But I walked out there, and that was one of the most special moments of my life. I promise, I know there's some alums back there who's like, who is this guy who's up there crying all day? Jesus, toughen up. I promise we'll get there. It's a special moment for my family, and it's a special place. I know what we have. I believe in what we have. I'm looking around at the facility, know the roster that we currently have, and this leadership team that I'm so blessed to be a part of. It's pretty clear where we can go. And I couldn't be more excited to get us there. Yesterday was one of the proudest days of my life. At 24 years of age, you dream about being a head coach in the Pac-12. I grew up in Temecula, California, Southern California, where it's all about the Pac, and that's it. I still say Pac-10 all the time. That's where my brain is, and I need to start saying 12. I grew up in that as the strength, the Conference of Champions, and to be back in it as a head coach at Skip, it's unbelievable. I went to New Mexico State 5 years ago. I was the hitting coach at the University of Kentucky. And I went to New Mexico State as an alum, a program that was down, a facility that was down, a level of pride that I thought was down, but it was somewhere that I was familiar with. I heard a lot of reasons why not to go. You can't pitch there, you can't win there, you can't recruit there, you can't play defense there. And we heard all of these things. I just had belief, and believe that we could, and believe that we would. Here came AstroTurf, here came recruiting classes, and it went from 11 wins to 34 to 35 to 40 to 38, 2 championships, 2 rings, a lot of pride. So come into Washington State with everything in front of you except a little bit of snow. Everything is here. The BTO project, the new facility, unbelievable. I couldn't believe what I was seeing today, where that's going. The intelligence of the planning, it's tactical, it's got a lot of bang, and it's going to bring in real recruits. The timing couldn't be more optimal for me. Obviously, I'm very, very fortunate, and I know that. Washington State has real history. It has real pride. It has unbelievable alumni. I've reached out to a few. That will happen and be on the plate first thing tomorrow. You alums will be hearing from me. It's a college town, which there's nothing better. There's no better place to live than a college college town environment. My favorite stops, Becky's favorite stops, have been Corvallis, Oregon, have been Lexington, Kentucky, have been college towns, where it really means something to be a part of the community. You have my word that I will be immersed, entrenched in every other fancy adjective that says I'm jumping in, because I will. It's the Pac-12, the facility's about ready to blow up, the leadership team and the commitment to the program, everything is here. And that's why I came at this thing as aggressively as I possibly could have. I did everything in my power to be honest up front and to create a plan. And I presented it to the leadership team. And when I got the call, God, it was the greatest phone call of my life. It was unbelievable. I have 4 things that drive me. 4 keys, 4 pillars, the foundations. Number 1 is a belief in culture. I mean, I believe in culture, and I believe I know it's a fancy word, and it's a buzzword, and it's a cliche word in coaching, but what is culture? It's a feeling, it's a belief, it's who you are, it's what it looks like, it's how it acts, it's how it sounds. You can't even touch it, you can just feel it. We will invest in team building, we will invest in staff culture. It's what I believe in, is the missing ingredient to any program. It's what I believe is the turnaround aspect of a program. I don't believe it's in offensive strategy or even recruiting to that matter. I believe it starts foundationally with culture. We're going to work to build a movement. We're going to work to create momentum, and we will start with culture. And we will invest in team building. In fact, our volleyball program invests in a group that will be coming in, but there will be a group, Team Elite will be coming in with Dean Wellams. In my first year at New Mexico State, we won 11 games, and in my second year when we won 34, we brought in this group who was committed, and it's just a piece of our culture program that we will put into play with Cougar Baseball. But in my second year, we had a group of kids who had just won 11 games, and in the fall, before we started practice, we were jumping around at a level so aggressive that we broke the floor, and our facilities guy was not pleased in Las Cruces. But we broke the floor, and that same team won 34 games with that type of passion. We will invest in that. We will invest in staff culture. I believe in that wholeheartedly. The decisions that we make regarding staff will be about the culture of the staff, the honesty, the integrity, the loyalty, and the type of people that we bring in. I believe those are at the forefront when it comes to staff. I think skills are secondary. Obviously, we have to coach, and there are a lot of good coaches out there. But it starts with the investment in culture, and we will invest in that. We will bring somebody from the outside in. The group is called Elevation 180. And my pillars, we will do 3 things, and here's where I get to create some accountability for myself, to build trust with you, the community, and this great university in terms of what's the plan, what are we going to do? We're going to believe and work on 3 things. Number 1, we're going to invest in teaching. And that's one of the 3 pillars that we will talk about on a daily basis as a coaching staff and as a program. But then we will teach within a system. We'll have a system at the forefront if you want to establish. And my philosophy on establishing trust with players is that you teach them that you are interested in teaching them. It's the most important thing. That's how you build trust, that I'm interested and we're interested in making you the best person and player that you can possibly be. We'll teach them life skills first. That will impact their skills on the field, and we will talk about those things on a daily basis. Recruit and develop. We had 4 nationally recognized classes in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and New Mexico State. We had 3 nationally ranked classes at New Mexico State. That had never been done. In the last 4 years, we've had 4 top 6 round prospects drafted. That had never been done. In terms of development, I talked to Joey Ortiz yesterday. Joey Ortiz was the first player that I ever called at New Mexico State. He's a 145-pound player out of Garden Grove High School. Nobody was recruiting him, and he could really, really hit without much power, and he had really good hands. And he committed to New Mexico State. And at 160 pounds as a freshman, and then maybe 170, and then at 185 this year, led the country in hits. He's on the Brooks Wallace Award finalist list, top 5 shortstop in the country. He got drafted yesterday in the 4th round, and he called me. And he said, Skip, I love you, and I'm happy for you, and you deserve it. And that's when you talk about teaching, and you talk about recruiting and then developing, that's what it's about. That's it. If we're focused on those things, then we will be. The winning will take care of itself. The kids will know that we care about them. When kids are struggling, we're struggling as staff. They're not out there trying to struggle for us. We've got their back. And the last thing is that we will be out in the community, like we will be out. We have won the Community Service Award, or we did as a program in New Mexico State 4 times. We won the Community Service Award for the athletic department. That's really important to me. I had a cousin who passed, who was extremely challenged. I remember running him around in a wheelchair at UCLA after we had just swept USC, which was really, really satisfying back then. And I ran my cousin around, and he's passed away since, but I ran my cousin around the field, and I pushed him around the field in a wheelchair, and when we hit home plate, and he couldn't do much, he couldn't move much, but there was a smile in there in those eyes, and I saw it. It impacted my life. When I went to Kentucky, I was so fortunate that that athletic department was invested in that. The Miracle League, the Bluegrass Miracle League, Special Olympics, I got invested in that, and it impacted my life. And I thought if I ever had an opportunity to be a head coach, we're going to do that. We're going to do that for these reasons. It's going to make you a better person. And if you become a better person, you can become a better baseball player. If you understand the perspective and how fortunate we are, obviously, to be in a program like this, it'll make you a better baseball player. It'll teach you the understanding that it is important for us to get out in the community because that is our responsibility. And that this is a really big deal, and people are watching, and it's our responsibility to be great off the field. And if we do that, we can be great on the field. Those life skills lead to conference championships, in my opinion, and we will spend a lot of time on that. In inspiring the community, we had 147 wins in 4 years, and I really believe that that's at the core of it. We'll be present. We will talk about family, team first integrity. We will be energy positive people. We will be committed to skill acquisition. And the Cougar acronym will be coming with those words. I just haven't made it up yet, but we'll get there. My plan, our plan. Number 1 will be coaching staff. It'll be loyal, it'll be trustworthy, it'll be a commitment to teach. I'm looking forward to putting that thing together soon and getting going out onto the road. The most important thing when it comes to coaching is number 1 is to get good people, but then number 2 is to play your position. My position is to be the hitting coach, to assist with recruiting, to be out into the community and motivate people. But we'll be very detailed and descriptive of what we do with our staff. That's where it starts. Obviously, an immediate impact in recruiting right now, this summer. Really excited about the team right now in terms of the roster. It's young, it's youthful, but it's talented. I've been able to communicate with 60 or maybe 70% of the roster so far, as well as the recruits that are signed, and look to make an impact over the summer if we can on this current team right now. Obviously, recruiting moving forward to impact that. And then it'll start with 2 really big things. Number 1, the opportunity to coach this team. And I've talked to most of them. But to all the Cougars out there right now who are going to show up in August, I could not be more honored and thrilled to be your coach, to get behind you, to motivate you, to get into your corner, to hit with you in the cage, to teach you, to learn from you. I could be more excited. Pac-12 head coach at Washington State, that's pretty darn good. And then we'll start with our culture training. We won't be on the field for 2 or 3 weeks, so if you're out at the baseball field and you see us talking or jumping up and down, and you wonder, what is this clown doing? Be committed to culture. It starts with a turnaround project. It's about getting guys to believe and believe in themselves and believe in team, but we will have a program in place to do that. Our culture training will be 2 to 3 weeks. We'll understand each other's whys. We will commit to each other with core values. We will commit to each other with an oath to the program that they'll have to take. We'll become very vulnerable with our teammates, which will lead to trust and respect, which can build character and it can build a locker room foundation, which is where everything is. My goal is very simple, to get our kids to understand this, that our guys understand and recognize that it will be a true privilege to be a member of the Washington State baseball program and university and athletic department, and that we will promise to place the needs of that team above our own. That's where the foundation starts, and that's where we'll put our work in. I look forward to energizing the community, to immersing myself in it. I can't wait to move my family here. And professionally, this is obviously the greatest day of my life, and I am absolutely honored and thrilled to be the next head coach at Washington State. and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart and my family's heart. Just a proud day. Thank you.
Yeah, Brian, your last New Mexico State team led the country in a number of offensive categories. Can you kind of talk about your offensive philosophy and what you plan to do here at Washington State to kind of improve upon that?
Utilize the blowing wind out to right field, get it up in the air. No, offense is really important. That's one of the things that's really going to be important to me. I think when you evaluate the PAC and you evaluate our facility and you evaluate the strength in the Northwest, I really think that we can make an impact with the program immediately in terms of putting our focus to offense. In terms of my offensive philosophy, it's about scoring runs, scoring in bunches, working for big innings, not giving up outs. You look around the PAC, they're very offensive. There's 25 runs when we played Arizona in 2 big weeks. Washington can be offensive, but the conference is, you got to hit. And in my opinion, we're going to spend a lot of time there. My offensive approach will be number one, to be committed to the weight room and the strength program. You cannot get beat in the weight room. You've got to be strong. That impacts your offensive approach. It impacts your decisions at the plate. We will spend a lot of time on swing development, on offensive approach, on pitch recognition. And I'll be the hitting coach, and I will be in those guys' corner in terms of the 3 things that are important to us offensively. You're going to want to see guys that are going to control the zone. They're going to use the middle of the field, and we will be committed to a 2-strike approach. And just in terms of not getting too much baseball into this, with a 2-strike approach, we will work backwards offensively. We'll work really hard to be confident late in the count. If you do that, then you got a chance to be much more aggressive when you see a pitch that you can drive, and I think that's how you hit home runs, doubles, and triples, and I think that's how you lead the country in scoring. So if the important thing I'm proud of is, if you look at it, it's not the lack of strikeout, but it's the amount of walk. New Mexico State had 325 walks and 305 strikeouts last year, and then a whole bunch of HBP. So we'll look forward to an offensive approach and teaching these guys how to hit, and I'll be in the cage with them.
Coach, what would you say the recruiting strategy is like for you, and how you go out and try and attract guys to your program?
I'd like to try, in our current situation, I would just like to try, if we can, as quickly as we can, to get a little more mature. And I just say that, just get a little older. The program's been young a lot, but what an exciting opportunity we have right now with the guys on the roster in the 19 class. Those are 2 good groups to put them together. For me, it's about getting them a little bit older. From a philosophy standpoint, what we do philosophically is cast out a vision and don't try to recruit kids necessarily to bite on it or to sell them into it. We will cast it out, and kids will choose us. If they're believing in development, if they're believing in understanding that being out in the community is important, and if they believe in family and team-first integrity, this will be a program that will be very attractive to them. In terms of philosophy with regards to recruiting, start with the region and work out. Have a presence immediately within the region, relationships, and then keep your brand and maintain your brand. I think that's the most important thing with recruiting. If you can establish a brand of whatever your brand is, ours will be that when recruits come here, what we told you in the recruiting process, it's going to happen when you show up. And if we can do that, and we will do that, we'll be committed to doing that, what happens is the word gets back out. These coaches, what they say is actually going to happen. You establish trust amongst coaches, amongst the region, and then recruiting starts to change if you can get some wins under your belt. And that'll be our philosophy going forward, and we'll attack that immediately.
Coach, you've been in this conference as an assistant, like you said. Just any takeaways about the conference from your time here as an assistant back then in Pac-10?
Well, it's an unbelievable bear. To have the opportunity to coach in this conference twice at 2 different institutions, and then it being in the SEC for 6 years, I had that experience of 11, 12 years. The most important thing, and this is why I'm so influenced on staff culture 1 and then player culture number 2. When you're in leagues that are as difficult and challenging as the PAC are, you have got to establish a locker room that is a family that sticks together, because you're going to have a rough weekend. You're going to get the bat put in a place where you might not want it, and you're going to not pitch very well, and you're going to be in a spot where you're going to have to maintain your belief and your trust. So recruit really well, but I think in terms of how you get to the top and create consistency in real leagues is that you have a program that's filled with love. And when I say love, I mean love and passion for your program and belief, and you're going to go after it, and you're going to go after it every day. That's what excites me the most about being here in Pullman. With this weather and with this history and this alumni base and this belief, we have a chance to put a little chip on our shoulder, take our sleeves off when it's freezing. I won't do that, but hopefully our players will. And go beat somebody in terms of being tough. And what an unbelievable opportunity. But tough league. Starts with culture, obviously, begins with recruiting, and then it goes into teaching. You got to teach, you got to have players, but the separator will be the culture and the belief, and we'll work very hard to establish, create, and maintain that.
Pat's talked a lot about his back to Omaha goal, getting this program back to the College World Series. What do you think is a realistic timeline for getting the Cougars back to the College World Series?
I want to start immediately with impacting the culture and flipping it around and having belief. And I say that not being here, but you know, all you want to do and all you want to do, all I want to do is to get better immediately. You know, being a part of 11 wins in 2015, and then 34 and 16, being a part of a 15-win program at UCLA in 2005, and then a 32, I believe it was, in 2006, and a regional appearance with a bunch of freshmen. I think what's most important for me is knowing that it can be done and it can happen quick. The separator obviously is when a conference is that challenging. There's a lot of hurdles to climb, but for us it's going to be about us. What's realistic, create belief, create strength, and get better immediately, and that'll be my goal, is that the program gets going and gets going quick. The facility, obviously, and the BTO project, that changes everything. My goal is that we show immediate improvement in all categories of pitching, defense, offense, that you see a different program just in terms of culture, which would just be the way that I act and my personality. And showing that improvement immediately gives you an opportunity for people to start to believe, and when you back that with that facility that's coming, which is absolutely unbelievable, state of the art, going to be one of the best in the country. Now you got a chance to open up some different living rooms, and we'll be prepared to do that.
Coach, one of the first reactions I had hearing you were from New Mexico is that it's going to be a little bit of a climate difference when early season snowouts aren't entirely out of the question. Is that going to change the style of ball club that you have to instill here, a different type of baseball that will have to be played early season when the climate's different?
Not at all. You know, and that's a really, really good question. Obviously, I know from a training perspective, from a calendar perspective, you know, we'll have to start a little bit earlier, but that was the same for me. And in Corvallis, and it was certainly exactly the same situation in Lexington, Kentucky. It was a very similar climate. It was a very similar experience for us. So, you know, in Kentucky, we really believed in offense. We trained for offense. Obviously, we're going to be on the road potentially a little bit early. So we're going to want to schedule in places that adhere potentially to how we play. Give us the best opportunity to be competitive and confident going into conference play. But in terms of an identity, you know, our identity is going to be based around our culture and establishing an offense and pitching really tough, and having pride in defense, and most importantly, having a dugout that screams energy. But in terms of the weather and how that'll dictate our philosophy or my philosophy, not at all. Just think about that little bit of breeze out to right center. We'd really like to take advantage of that.
Other questions for Coach or Pat? All right, thank you. We'll have Coach Green off to the side here for some one-on-ones with the media. And thank you for coming today.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.